Hey there peeps, and welcome back yet to another episode of What's in My Camera Bag. Today we're talking about the EOS R, but I'm gonna be really quick because I got dinner coming in the oven and hopefully I'll be done by the time it's ready. So, wanna see what's going on in there? Lasagna. I'm making lasagna. Okay. I forgot the camera. Before we start, the camera and a Red Bull. I thank you Teppo Haapoja for making me addicted to Red Bull again. Cheers. And before we get started, I want to tell you that later on, when I tell you the pros and cons and my experience with the camera, they're mainly my experiences and my opinions alone. So with that said, let's get to it. So, the Canon Eos R has approximately 30.3 megapixels. Total pixels 31.7. The image processor is a Digit 8 and it uses RF lenses, but with an adapter you can use EF lenses too, making the transition to a mirrorless camera more easier and more nicer. The Canon Eos R is the first mirrorless camera that came to Canon, and later on they came with the RP that was a little bit more budget friendly. Like most of the Canon cameras, it has one-shot mode and AF servo. Now to the tidbits that everybody like. It shoots 8 FPS and 5 FPS when using AF tracking. And with the interval timer you can actually do 4K time-lapse movies. And now when shooting videos you have 4K up to 30 FPS and 1080p up to 60 FPS. And with the 4K you have to remember it's cropped to 16:9. But when filming video you have to remember that it does have C-Log, which helps in post-editing. Now those are the tidbits that interest me the most when buying a camera. So I'm not gonna go any further into the details about the EOS R, but I'm gonna tell you my experience with the camera, the pros and the cons. So first of all, the 30.3 megapixel sensor gives you great image quality. Usually the megapixels don't count when you're taking photos, but it counts when you're cropping. So when you're doing landscape photography, I've said this before in my videos, when you do landscape photography, it gives you more variety in editing the photos. You actually get more advantage in cropping when you're using a higher megapixel count camera. But for example, when I use the EOS R6, it's got a 20 megapixel sensor, and it means that everything that I want in the photo, I should take it there, so I don't have to crop or anything in post editing. Now to my experiences using the camera. The camera is great in all, but it's Canon's first mirrorless camera. After using the R6, I have found a few cons when using it. For photography, the camera is great. The 30.3 megapixel sensor gives you a great edge, like I said, in landscape photography and every kind of other photography too. You can use it in portrait photography, you can use it in product photography, EDC photography. It's great in all of those, but in low light it doesn't do pretty good. The pictures get really grainy after you hit about 1000 to 600 ICO. Now the first thing that I loved about it was the 8 FPS. It sounds like a machine gun, first of all. If you check out my Instagram and you see a swan opening its wings, I took it with the EOS R. I took it actually using manual focus. I just pressed the button and it took like everything I wanted, and they looked great in post. I've taken portraits with it, I've taken self-portraits with it, but like I said, in low light, it's a bummer. It doesn't work in low light, and in Finland the most of the time we have low light because the winters are long and dark. So you have to have that extra light with you. You have to think about that light, how you're gonna use it, when you're gonna use it, and you know, well, using light. Now in video, if you're great using a handheld, good for you. Then I suggest the EOS R, and I suggest you start out with it if you're thinking about buying a camera or changing to a mirrorless camera in all. And the 60 FPS gives you that chance to make slow motion things happen, and if the picture is wobbly you can always smooth it out in post. But the 4K crop, God damn it, that crop. That crop is horrible. Of course, if you're used to a crop sensor, that's okay, but I've used full frame cameras all my life, so when I saw that crop, I didn't know how to react to and what to do with it. It messed up everything in my filmmaking at first. But then I got used to it. And like I've told you about the low light situations, like I said in the beginning, most of these can be actually my opinions, but I think it has something to do with the camera too, so that's why I'm putting it out there. When I started filmmaking, I didn't have great lights. I didn't have any aperture lights giving me that illumination everywhere, and I didn't even have LED lights. I just have, actually the only light that I had was the circle kind of light for self portraits or something like that, and it was awful. It was really awful. When I pumped up the ICO, everything was just so grainy that I couldn't do anything with that footage. There's actually one video in YouTube that I've been thinking about deleting, because you can just see that grain. Of course, I sucked at post editing at the time. I sucked at filmmaking at the time. I probably suck still. For somebody might think that I suck at filmmaking, but it was totally awful. When I got the R6, everything that went away. It didn't make me a better filmmaker, but it relieved me of the stress that came with post editing. Now you might be thinking that why do you have an R and an R6? You can take landscape photography with the R6 too. Yeah, you can, but I need two cameras. A professional once told me that a professional photographer always has two cameras in case the other one blows out. In photography sessions, in wedding sessions, everything, you always gotta have two cameras if the other one pops out. If the shutter stops working or something, you can always take another one from the bag and be like, oh, no problem, I'm gonna take that to the serviceman and he's gonna make it all better by the end of the week, and I'm gonna use this one. In those cases, they usually suggest that the camera should be the same one. Like most of the wedding photographers use the 5D Mark IV, and they have two of them, and it's more easy to, just because you know the settings and you don't have, because the settings are the same on the same camera, and you don't have to start thinking that, oh, how did the settings go? Because that's what happens to me with the R, because I've been using the R6 so much that when I open the R, most of the time I go like, how did this work? But I'm gonna end this video telling you that, to me, the R is a great entry-level camera. It's a perfect entry-level camera. It's a perfect mirrorless entry-level camera if you are thinking about buying a camera and starting in photography and want a mirrorless camera. But if you've been doing this for longer, I suggest you save up and buy something newer. The R isn't for you then, because the camera you probably have right now is much older than the R if you're thinking about the R. And the R doesn't bring that much new and joy to your life than it should. This is my hard opinion. Of course, you might have budget reasons, that's okay, and nobody's gonna judge you that you have an R, and I'm not gonna judge you that you're gonna buy an R. But if you are actually already experienced in filmmaking and photography, think about another camera. Just save up a little bit more, buy an R6, R5. There's the R3 coming along that I'm really excited about. I've been reading about it a lot and I'm so excited about it. Or if you're thinking about changing to another brand, that's okay too. Sony's got great cameras. And Sony's got great lenses. They're all great. Everything has a pro and a con. So it's just about taste, really. This is then the video. I think I'm burning my lasagna down. That's a fact. That's not my opinion. And I highly suggest you subscribe, you like this video, hit the bell icon if you want to get notices of me making more videos, putting out more videos. And the subscription helps out a lot to get noticed and everything like that. So this is the end. I'll be seeing you on the next one. Oh, god damn it. Ah, fuck. Actually, the lasagna came out perfect. It looks nice and crispy on top with the cheese and That is one hell of a lasagna right there. And I Just remember that this is actually one of my first videos that I'm recording in 4K. I'm counting on it that it's gonna be a bitch to edit in Premiere Pro.